thing, you memorized it. So you don't have to.
I found it.
Would you like a microphone?
And Tashi Delek, that's how we greet in Tibetan. Join me as we welcome two extraordinary voices in contemporary literature and music. First, Bhuchung D. Sonam, a Tibetan poet whose journey from Tibet to exile in India has shaped his profound and moving work. He's also a writer, translator, publisher, and co-founding member of TibetWrites. As the founder of TibetWrites and Blackneck Books, and author of acclaimed collections including Songs from Dewachen and Burning the Sun's Braid, he has transformed his personal exile stories into the universal poetry that speaks across borders. Next, I have a very long list, so I had to make it very short for Bruce Van Pai, because everyone knows him here. A New Orleans cultural garden whose life weaves together music, tradition, and storytelling. As the big chief of the historic Northside Skull and Bone Gang, and a masterful musician, he brings the rhythms and rituals of New Orleans to life through his words and music. Please welcome these two remarkable artists who, though from a very vastly different corners of the world, share the power to move us with their stories. Thank you. Also, we have books from both the artists at the back after we are done with the event. Thank you. Oh, I'm Dolker.
Wonderful, and welcome everyone to the Jazz Museum, the second Mint in the United States, where money was made. Did you know that? After Philadelphia, this Mint is the second one. A lot of history in the walls of this space, and it is purported to be one of the more busy spaces in the city when it comes to errant spirits running around the rooms, and which is kind of interesting to me. But also it speaks to the fact that we're here in this physical form right now, but when we pass on, we're just in a cycle of time and space in some ways too, and our ancestors help us to be able to exist, to cope, survive, make it to the other side, and come back again, and hopefully do something good while we're here, So I think that's very important, and it's kind of appropriate for what we're doing here, and I'm so honored to be here with Bhuchung. We had some great dumplings 2 nights ago. It's a real friendship being created, and a bridge and way to have a voice and speak to this world. So I think it's going to be wonderful in this sense. And just remember, it's not like your audience or anything like that. We're all doing this together, so you can comment when you feel like it, or ask questions, or do things like that are important. And I also would like to recognize this land that we're living in. Once New Orleans, before it became a European colonial city, was this very site that we're in, where there was about 7,000 people already living here, in a place called Bulbuncha. So the native people, the Choctaw, the Ishak, Atakapaw, the Kushata, the Homa, the folks that lived in this area, this town, Bulbuncha, and that meaning is a Choctaw word that means land of many tongues. And so we still exist in that, and we honor that, and all of those folks that made it possible for us to be here. And we like to think of the fact that we're standing on the shoulders of giants. It's miraculous that we all come from so many different places, and that our ancestors gave all that they could give to make it possible for us to be here. So I'm always humbled to think about that and wake up in the morning and try and do something else, you know, that's good in the moment. So I won't talk too much, hopefully. I want to let my friend and partner say some words also. Bhuchung.
Oh, thank you very much. I want to thank my friend Durga, Chutan, and Joshua, and also Bruce for putting these events together, and also thank you very much for coming. I've been here only for 2.5 days, but I can feel the energy, culture, and the richness of this place, which I can associate with, because Tibet is an ancient culture with a long history and culture and music and medicine and spiritual tradition. So it's a coming here from the tall mountains to the sea level, maybe even below sea level. I can still feel the energy and the richness of your heritage. So thank you very much. Yeah. So I think just to give you a little background of where I come from. I was born in Tibet. Tibet is a huge plateau. Most people call it the third pole. Apart from the north and the south pole, Tibet has the largest landmass and also glaciers which help cool this planet. And Tibet is 2.5 million square kilometers with only 7,000 people. That's one of the reasons why China occupied Tibet, because China has huge population but little space. And if you think of modern China now as it is, 1/4 of it is the land that belongs to the Tibetan people. So I've been living in India for 42 years as a refugee. I was brought to Tibet, from Tibet to India when I was about 10 and a half years, and I've been living there, and I haven't seen my family for all these decades. So here we are, a Tibetan, born in Tibet, living in India, and now traveling here, hoping to tell my stories to a larger audience. Thank you.
Wonderful. What are some of the ways that you've figured out how to stay connected to your homeland and just, you know, things that have helped you over these 42 plus years to still stay rooted in who and where you came from and what you are in the context of keeping identity?
Oh, thank you very much. I think the depth of the culture gives me strength, because right from childhood we were taught that we were part of a larger things, part of a family, part of a society, part of the community, and we do not consider I as a center of everything. So moment you think you are part of a larger thing, then your suffering somehow become part of a larger things that happens around. Of course, that's one thing. And of course, in my own case, stories and telling story, the process of telling story has been really important, because right from when I was in school, in a Tibetan refugee school, I used to write, only then in Tibetan. So I used to write, and I used to send these, whatever little I wrote, to literary magazines for children. And once my short poem got published, and I was really happy. So I was inspired to write right from the beginning. But of course, in college, I didn't study literature. I didn't get to study literature. I studied economics, so I don't know nothing about writing literary style and what kind of, techniques and plots. And I write as I feel. I write as I experience things. I write as I witness things. And act of storytelling and act of writing really helped me stay rooted. And of course, on top of that, the culture that gives me strength. Because I always have, once you have a really long, deep spiritual tradition, then you can always go back and look at the history and say, okay, this is how long we have been. I do not consider myself as an isolated thing. So it really roots me to my history and culture that dates back hundreds of thousands of years old. So that really keeps me rooted to who I am and what I do.
Yeah, great foundation for recognizing the help of ancestors and and being able to to carry that forward. They didn't do all of that for nothing. I mean, I've had some similar experiences around just recognizing who I am. I'm like a second generation, I guess you could say, of people who were brought from Africa. My grandfather's mother came into New Orleans in 1820, from the west coast of Africa, and on a ship called the Cleopatra II. My father's father was freed from slavery here in Louisiana when he was 16 years old. That's very close in generations of, people who were trying to figure out how to survive a lot of things and gain freedom, and they told us a lot of stories. That was the main thing. Well, really what they said was, I ain't got no money to give you, but I can tell you who you are and where your people came from, which was almost worth its weight in gold. But it was a real thing, and so, for me, even as a young child, I recognized that as a kind of pathway forward to not get lost. And coming into New Orleans, the first thing I noticed about this city is that it's a very homocentric place. People here, they're very proud, overly proud, to a point of ignorance of being, we look inward, we don't look outward. We know that a lot of things are going on in the world and that's not who we are. So they learn how to self-validate themselves, and so you see it like in the many 42 or 3 weekends that we have parades. By the way, my parade is this weekend, the Black Men of Labor, so we'll be out at Sweet Lorraine's at 2:30 in the afternoon, and this is how people figured out how to have organizing neighborhood to neighborhood, block to block, to be able to help each other. And just what you were saying, it helps you recognize that you're not like one individual, but you're like one of many. So that strength is in those numbers, and being able to identify with that and know that you have a place that you came from and you can move forward. And so often, memories for people in the today's world, they don't really know that much about a generation ago or 2 generations ago. Some systematic system has encouraged people to wipe away their identities or to be ashamed of where they came from and what it was for whatever reason. And so they put it to the side as opposed to using it as something to uplift. No matter where you came from and who you are, that's something to be proud about in existence. I think maybe we'll.
Something that you spoke about, looking inside. I think it's very much part of our spiritual tradition also. We called Nang. Nang is inside. So one of the Tibetan spiritual masters, he said, it is fools who go looking for happiness outside of themselves. It is the wise who look inside themselves for happiness. I think this is really important because especially now with the world as it is, so much is bombarded in front of us. So much information. It's 90% of them are absolutely unnecessary. There's nowhere that a human being can process all the information that is thrown at you every day, each day, every day. We don't need them, and what we need is reflection. We are given so little time to process and reflect, really at our innermost strength and happiness, that we always go and look outside, searching for something that can be found inside ourselves. So this is the tradition where I come from. And this is in many ways also, we don't have a country. Our country is occupied. We even don't have a political status. I call myself a refugee, but the document that I'm giving, I am listed as a stateless people. So, given all of these harsh realities that we have faced every day, there's no hope for me to find solace and happiness outside of myself. It is within here that I try to stay rooted, and it is here from within myself that I try to find my strength and root and energy to go and move and do my fight every day.
Yeah, understand that. Yeah, I mean, really learning how to put up with all your faults. And, I sat down in front of a mirror when I was about 15 years old and had a conversation with myself, because I was like, well, who am I actually? And I took a notepad and I wrote down the top 10 things that I wanted to dream about being able to do in my life. And also the 10 things that I thought were negative that I wanted nothing to do with. And I've used it as a guide ever since, just to know how to look at myself and, the people around me and be okay with it, and learn how to, you have to love yourself first. You can't really share a whole lot of good love with other people, and understanding without doing that for yourself first, and knowing that, we're all like a work in progress. Definitely me. I mean, it might be, you can strive for perfection in some things, but that's not real reality, and you don't really get that from, social media and all sort of other places. So would you like to read some poems, and I'll play some music? And
Yes, I can try.
yes, me
Let
too.
me start with the
They're with us. They in on it. Yeah. So.
Buddha stands on a public park, one hand raised in the air, greeting all sentient beings, the other holding a begging bowl. Pigeons make love on his head, covered with the bird shit, white as the full moon. Grass round his feet having disappeared, Buddha stands on a small brown island. A small boy walks around the holy man. And then a dog follows, circling Buddha 3 times. And then the dog raises its left leg and sprays Buddha with the shots of urine, yellow as saffron water. Buddha refuses to shuffle his legs. I think Buddha loves dogs and pigeons too. Who am I? Riverbank, mud house. My father's eyes, my mother's throat. Garden of willow, pigeons pregnant. Dust that flakes the altar invading sacred spaces. Here in the plains, there is no yakdang, just empty water bottles. No barley fields, only smoking cars. Yellow stars look down on my mother's skies. Cabbages have stolen the fields from round radish. My grandfather's summer bag is fled. Who am I? A book? A pen? Talking about snows of the land, thinking of the land of snows. Words deny me the smell of my mother's milk, sheep droppings, haystacks. Fats of my heart have left, barren void, yellow dream, numb thought. The milkman has come knocking, 600 rupees for this month. Half circle, full triangle, new moon. I have lived in too many rented rooms. What I need is a home, a shoe rack fixed to a wall. Who am I? A hair of a dog stuck on barbed wire, a parcel of dried chura, packed, sealed, stamped, shipped. A nomad tent pitched low like impermanence, hanging on the plateau. Dead day, dread work, flat peaks, smoke dot, hoof spot, musket shot. Some liberation comes from green chilies, white fire, white wall. I am Kesa's war horse, living on Milareba's nettle broth, playing with the words that mean and do not mean. Now that you clapped, we can do like,
Yeah.
try this rhythm. Ngan se tang we lu she di ni. Ngan se tang we lu she di ni. Peri zang ma zhen ju yin. Rang yu rang la ge ba yi no. Zang li yong la ne zu jia bu. Zu gu ro go na za tang wa. Zu gu ro go na za tang wa. Mik pa zang ma xin du gan ba. De pe ding du shu ma ba wa. Ning gi ding do zi ma su ba. O senda ria kanda du ngan se tang we lu di kanda du ngan se tang we ria That's just
Allons marcher, allons marcher, prendre liberté. Allons marcher, allons marcher, allons marcher. Allons marcher, allons marcher, prendre liberté. Allons marcher, allons marcher, allons marcher. Nous autres papas, non marcher, nous en pas faire liberté. Allons marcher, prendre liberté. Couldn't hear nobody pray, Lord, I couldn't hear nobody pray. I was way down yonder by myself, I couldn't hear nobody pray. Couldn't hear my mother pray, Lord, couldn't hear my father pray. I was way down yonder by myself, I couldn't hear nobody pray. Allons marcher, allons marcher, prendre liberté. Allons marcher, prendre liberté. Any comments so far? Right, complaints. Yeah.
Oh, the song that I sang was written and performed by a group of 3 brothers, JJI, Jamyang Jigme, and Ingsel. They call themselves Exile Brothers. Born in exile and lives in Dharamsala, which is where the 14th Dalai Lama also lives, and which is also where the exiled Tibetan government is based. They do really good. Actually, they played. I think they did music for change, and I think Kep Mo heard their music and he praised them. So yeah. And Tejung, I think one of our someone here who knows. The Tejung also did. Tejung is a contemporary Tibetan musician. He did one song with the Kep Mo, really nice song. So.
That's it. It's spirit channeling, It's a good thing. Keep the roadways open. And I was just singing in response to that, because that's how it works. A song that I wrote actually for the 1811 slave revolt. And we had a celebration a few years ago for that. And, most of my songs, I just let them come in dreams. Takes all the hard work out, and you can, as long as you pay attention, you can get the whole song, and everything happens in it's kind of like one of those, a little better the quality than Netflix, but it comes through like a film. You can hear all the sound, what's going on in the moment, relative humidity. It all happens in dreams like that. So if any of y'all live in that dream world like that, I don't know, but I certainly do. So it happens all the time. It's the main way I've been able to create art and move around the world, is just dreamscaping. And I was just talking to Bhuchung. He asked me where I got these things from. He was like, what is this I'm looking at? And actually, it was last fall, about this week exactly. A Tibetan man gave me this. He was a priest, and he said, I know you. I was walking down the street in Amsterdam, and he was like, where have you been? And he was right. I met him like 10 years earlier, and he said, oh, you left, and I have something for you. So he gave me these, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, what should I do? And I was like, okay, I get it. He's locked into this. But about 7 years earlier, a priest in Togo gave me this. So these are snake vertebrae. This is a black mamba. And he was like, oh, you need this. You're doing spirit work for protection. And this man said the same thing. And so he gave me these. And I was like, oh, all right, I get it. So, but you know, with this one, this is the first time I was like, I'm gonna wait until I should and figure out when I should wear this and what it should be about. And it's tonight. It's the first time I really put it on. So, yeah.
Oh, thank
But
you.
I felt the moment is happening. It came together. So, you know, it's about paying attention to those things and just, you know, not resisting them, but letting things happen that should happen, you know, in those ways. So, yeah.
Yeah, talking about literature, the poems that I write in English and also in Tibetan, but tradition goes back at least 1,300 years when Tibetan written script was devised in the 7th century, and since then Tibetan have been writing. In fact, one of the longest epics in the world is written in Tibetan language, Kesar. And most of these are sung, not read actually. So we have Kesar bards who will go into a trance, and they don't know how to read and write, but every evening when they go into trance, they just tell one whole story while they are in trance. And when I was young, our village had one such bard, and she didn't know how to read and write, and in the daytime she would just walk with a walking stick. But in the evening when she goes into trance, she would just sing like Luala tala tala ria tala mo lui le lure minganda hangango ma shina mingani kesa bore. So she would go into singing all this. This is just only one of the tunes that she sang. But Kesa is like, you know, epics, a lot of wars, and each character will have different tunes. So she would go and jump and shout, and then next morning she would walk with a walking stick. And so it's a long history. And what I write, what I write is in English, which is Tibetan writing in English is barely 65 years old. So, but how we write, what we write, has a long history dating back at least 1,300 years, and civilization dates back even longer than that. So yeah, everything has to have a root.
Yeah. Spirit work, it's good. Yeah. Yeah, it makes me think of, and I brought a couple of these books back here, but 9 years ago, I had a song come to me. They usually come in like a flash. Some can be, you can have daydreams and night dreams, and they're essentially the same. But I'll play you a little song that I wrote. Well, I didn't really write the song, I just translated, I can't lie. We were actually in the studio making music. I was trying to do something around Creole language and music, because it was, you know, that was the main language here in New Orleans for about 150 years, by the population and so forth. But, you know, we had a man here named Juan Saint-Malo. Saint-Malo was the leader of a Maroon village, and we make altars for Saint-Malo this time of year, especially around Toussaint, you know, the All Saints Day, which is coming up next week. And he, you know, he freed himself from the Darrensburg plantation, which is not too far up the river from here, and then he freed about 200 other people from plantations, and they made their way into St. Bernard Parish, and they were there for about 35 years before they were finally captured. And they didn't capture all of them, but this was during the Spanish colonial period. They brought them back into the city in front of the church, and, you know, beheaded them, put their heads on spikes for 30 days, you know, as a warning to all other people who had been enslaved to stay in place. But, you know, we review Saint-Malo as a saint, you know. So I'm gonna play this for you, but I just had this song come in a flash just when I was recording, so I was actually able to, like, just get up and walk right into the studio and record it with my band at the same time. So. San Milo, weary, weary, yo. Oh, San Milo, weary, yo. Oh, San Milo, weary, yo. Oh, San Milo, weary, yo. San Malo, tu caches là, soldat, je cherche toi. San Malo, tu viens et plus mal, mais toi t'es un peu sale. Oh, San Malo, weary, yo. 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 San Malo, tu salopette, mais t'as fait des bonnes magiques. San Malo, tu viens de plus mal, mais toi un peu tout sale. Oh, San Malo, weary, yo. 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 San Malo, tu caches là, soldat, je cherche toi. San Malo, tu viens de plus mal, plus grand zombie. Oh, San Malo, weary, yo. 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 San Malo. Yeah. So the song came in Creole, but it's about San Malo. It says you ran and hid in the woods, and the soldiers were hunting you, but you, well, it's just like the translation is direct, but you's a tough son of a bitch. You liberated the people, and the soldiers are hunting you, and you're a big problem for the white folks that who fear you because you did this, and it's that was just that. But it helped me to create this book that has a bunch of songs in it also that are all in Louisiana Creole, and then translate those songs from Creole into English. So had a wonderful dreamscaping time doing that. Took about a year and a half, because since you can't just sit down and write a song and make it happen, you have to let it come to you. But this is the time of year, if you want to know why New Orleans is the place where Weird went pro. In the fall, all the spirits work in the changing of the seasons. So we have, two big, obviously, the seasons, the swing months, September, October, going into November, and then, March, April, going into May is where everything happens. Everything else is just like, some lead yap. Even though we have Carnival that is big, it's all of the plants that people use, the dreaming, the dreamscaping, all those things happen in cycles, like continuously. And so, one of those cycles is like hitting it full on right now. So be aware. As we say in the Skull and Bone Gang, you next. You might be the,
Let's read something.
Yes.
Pick up your harmonica. Let's see
Let's do
what happens.
Yes, okay.
All my moments belong to you, and I'm lonely still, enveloped in the smoke of your shadow, like a dandelion under a tree. My head swells with your thoughts, and my heart is empty still, left behind by your pack of mares like a hoofless donkey. You are a spotless, distant moon. I am a pebble on the shore, waiting for the next wave bathed in your light. I am no more than a fallen leaf, a feather stuck on a juniper tree. But I circle your orb until stars outshine the moon. In search of your warmth, I follow the path of a vulture's flight, and my sparrow's wings take me to the desolate corner of my room. Here, here, here I stare into the dusty screen of my laptop, hoping to write a song about the breeze that brings your fragrance. Our struggle for freedom continues as we live, and many of us as we die and as we grow older. But we fundamentally believe in the principle of impermanence of all things, that everything changes, that things that go up will come down, and empires, however mighty they are, one day will fall down. And when that time comes, we will have our freedom. Until then, it is a battle. I have principle and no power. You have power and no principle. Since you being you and I being I, compromise is out of question. So let the battle begin. You with your coterie of liars might win, but the truth is with me. Lies churned from microphones cannot erase the truth engraved on my bones. I have truth and no force. You have the force and no truth. Since you being you and I being I, compromise is out of question. So let the battle begin. In the battle of brute force, you with your arms and goons might win, but the truth is with me, and I will fight. You may club my skull, I will fight. You may crush my bones, I will fight. You may bury me alive, I will fight. I will fight. With the truth running through me, I will fight. With every ounce of my strength, I will fight. With my last dying breath, I will fight. I will fight till the castle that you build with your lies comes tumbling down. Until the devil you worshipped with your lies kneels before my angel of truth. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, if you have any questions or, we can, please.
First of all, it's amazing to hear Tibetan in the house that Songkai built here in the Jazz Museum. This question is for both of you. Bhuchung D, Rangzen Kadale. What is Rangzen? And Songkai, I'd love you to answer to what is freedom?
Mm.
And if you want to answer in words or prose or music or song or whatever. So what is freedom?
Freedom.
Or what is Rangzen? How
No.
do you translate that?
Yeah, Rangzen is freedom, independence, free, whatever you call it. But I think fundamentally to have a home where you can live your life without somebody watching you, where you can make your decision in your own silence, in your own wisdom, in your own thoughts, in your own pace, without someone ordering you. That's what freedom is. And this reminds me of a song that one of the early contemporary musician in Tibet that he sang. And it's in Tibet, since ancient times, we travel a lot, especially for pilgrimage, and some people do prostrations. They measure actually the entire breadth of Tibet with their bodies. Just prostrate and then take few steps and then measure. So that's how they used to travel. And this song has to do with the traveling, Arola kamba ngai pai ngai ando chamdori ngai ando chamdori e chamdori kamdrunga mi de kamdrunga to yarilu kamdrunga tenga ilatu yarilu yarilu trosambeni mo ngalame chume shing chunane mori chume shing chunane mori yarelu yarelu ya yarelu kandisiri bojane chu go ashapine chasumse kandisiri bojane chu go ashapine chasumse. So this song mentions two really important places. Amdo is right in northeastern Tibet, which borders with China, and Kangrinpoche is right, it's a holy mountain right in the western Tibet. So it talks about the entire breadth of the Tibetan plateau. So that's what the song is. And freedom for me is to have this whole landmass without somebody occupying it with the brute force.
Yeah. I think freedom is definitely a state of mind where, you can wake up in the morning and go to bed and you don't have to wonder about the watches. and you don't have to worry about retaliation of existence. What you say, what you eat, how you dress, how you pray if you want to pray, how you drink if you want to drink. none of those things are like something that you have to worry about. And you don't have to hear the baby talking back there, little Jimmy. You don't have to like wonder, is my child gonna be free too? Because it's a generational thing, and trauma and the way the world has used capturing people's minds, physically and mentally. When you're unchained, when you can break every chain about those struggles of like daily and constantly being monitored for who you are, then you know you got yourself some freedom. But it's not just for you, it has to be for all those other people around you also. It doesn't count for it to be one person. That's the okey-doke shuffle. I don't care any way you shake it up or shake it down, what key you play it in or what tempo, it's still gonna be the okey-doke shuffle. It means that we can all accept each other without fear of retaliation. And I can say, hey baby, I love you in spite of yourself. We all have our faults, and we can all be okay with that. It's the part where people will not let you be okay. I need you to make me feel comfortable about how I am and who I am. That's not freedom. So it's being able to arrive at that point. And some people truly feel that. Like, I see them all the time. I mean, I can walk into an elevator in New Orleans and people immediately, you're gonna get all kinds of reactions. I can walk down the street at night or early in the morning, or I can walk through a lion's cage with pork chop drawers on. And there's gonna be a reaction. And I'm like, but I could also walk down Bourbon Street, and you know how many police cars and state troopers are on Bourbon Street right now? And you know how they will actually react to you when they see you? That kind of generational trauma is like a very, 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 very real thing. And, but you have to get past it. You have to like not, fall prey to it. That means you can walk into a room and you don't have to like walk into this room and look around and monitor everybody and everything in this room and assess, how am I gonna approach this moment? Who do I have to watch? How long can I stay in here? And I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna be cordial. I'm the last person that's gonna do anything. But when you know you're being monitored, and if you walk in, people are gonna make a reaction, that means that you're not really free, because there's a system set up systemically that says that not you. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how well you behave, how you dress, no, not you. And, so being able to get past that in a worldview, in a society, and it's all over the world, and these are human archetypes that are reoccurring themes. Those are, until you can like do that, you don't have real freedom. So, not there yet. But that's why we do what we do. We have to be able to like channel these things, put them into arts, we put them into words, we put them into visual art, we put them in the movement of dance, we put them in words, prayers, spirits, everything that we can to say that, I have to validate myself again. I got to self-educate myself, but also you, to show you who I am. And hopefully we can move on beyond that. It's a day-to-day thing. It's not every day. Some days you do good, other days, no. It's nothing like driving through the city of New Orleans, for example, and being arrested, driving while black, being arrested, going to jail on a Friday night when you know the judge is not going to show up to arraign anybody or do anything until Wednesday. So they just got you, and so, and you don't know if you're going to get in or not, in there or not, or out, or, you can get your head split open or not. It's a very real thing. And that's what's going on right now at a peaked out level. in these United States. It's back at the top of the chart again. So, you know, you have to just know it for what it is, and all you can do is the best you can, but you can educate other people to understand. You can't expect them to walk in your shoes, and but you can give them some beautiful ways and platforms to get outside of themselves and know that, you know, we all get the same thing ultimately in some kind of cycle. So, but, you know, freedom is it's a state of mind.
That's one.
There's a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Please.
My question is to you both. Earlier in the very beginning, you both spoke of looking inward for to find happiness, right? What would you both say to individuals who might look inward and find nothing, and find themselves, you know, empty?
Ask for some help. You know, yeah, you have to ask for help. You have to ask your relatives that you never met before. Set up a little altar, get some pictures if you have them. If you don't, you have to connect yourself with the rest of you. Go get some nice flowers. Maybe they like flowers. You got to try. If you know they like cornbread and sweet potatoes, put it on the altar. Take it to the river. Go anywhere that you can go, but sit down and settle yourself and ask for permission to know who you are, to be okay with who you are, because all we have is ourselves. Now we can build out many different ways, but those are like some basic things to do. Take a walk in the woods. You have to like get away from all that's going on, like in a cycle and in a tight circle around here, you know. Often it's like a dog biting his tail, you know, just, you know. So you have to like step back from that and be able to take that time to settle down enough to ask yourself, and then ask, you know, your ancestors to help you. I mean, that's why people go to churches, that's why they have religions, that's why they have spirituality. One is trying to talk bad about the other one. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, this is devil. Well, who is the devil? Or it's like this, but they're all about people looking inward and doing something about remembering their ancestors. I don't care what religion it is, that's what it is, in some kind of way. So people ought to be all right with that. You got to be okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing strange about it, there's nothing weird about it. And if you're doing a bunch of crazy, you know, children is, if you're doing a bunch of crazy shit, then also, same thing. Some of your ancestors was doing that same thing, so you need to ask those other ones, like, I need to correct this. I need some help from y'all to help me straighten this out. Even though you can get medicated and lie down on a leather couch, you can't really, you can talk about your problems, but you got to solve your own problems from within. And you have to have an open heart, spirit, and mind to be willing to make it happen, move forward, at least to receive the information. So it's about receiving the information.
Coming from tradition as I am, I think there is no such thing as empty self. There is something there. It's just that how much time do you spend discovering yourself? That's why looking inside is so important. We always look for solution outside of ourselves. You know, if you think you have nothing, you go for alcohol, cigarette, and worse still, injections, medicines, which provide only temporary solutions. We believe at least each individual is endowed with that very seed which can do great things. And in speaking purely from Buddhist point of view, each is endowed with that very seed which can make them, turn them into enlightened beings. So if that is the case, then what is it that you cannot find within yourself? It is there, it's just a matter of reflection, I think. You really have to sit down and look at yourself and try to find what is that one thing that can be valued within yourself. And you can start from there, however tiny it might be. We live in such a image-driven world that we are all constantly bombarded with the images which look so impressive, so nice, that sometimes you assume everybody is doing all these happy things apart from yourself. But what you are seeing is tiny bits of everybody's great lives. That's all you see. So your comparison is 100,000 images of somebody's holiday and not their daily struggle and hard work and suffering. So if you think in that sense, then calculate how much value that you have within yourself. I think it's reflection is really important. That's why we place so much value in looking inward. As I said earlier, look inside. The Tibetan term for house is nang. Home is nang. What is nang? Nang is inside. Yeah. The Buddhism, for example, for Buddhism, the Tibetan term for Buddhism is nangba. Nang means again inside. Pa is he who possesses the inside. So that's what it is. So I think reflection is really important, trying to find your strength from yourself. Because that strength nobody can give you. Artists, for example, people say he sings. When he sings, people can identify and say, this is Bruce's song. This is because he reflects that which he composes comes from within himself. And that has his signature. And that each song or each word, whoever the author might be, is stamped with his own signature because that comes from within himself. You can write a book just opening hundreds of other books and take on one sentence from each of these and you have 100,000 sentences and you have a story. But somebody else reading that story may sound like, oh, I have read this somewhere, which means that story doesn't have your soul and your feeling and your innermost strength. So I think everything has to come from inside. Look inside. The gold mine is here. Not in Fort Knox. Only the green pepper is there. Bhuchung.
Bhuchung.
Sorry. I wanted to know, like, if you look back on your time and during exile in Tibet, if there's like a memory that stands out in your mind of like the days before leaving or the time when you were leaving that exemplifies the destruction of your culture or like the injustice that was happening and some, I don't know how to phrase that.
By the time I was old enough to remember things, everything was destroyed. Nothing was standing there. There was a great 14th century Tibetan mystic master and meditation master and author and social engineer who built bridges and iron suspension hanging bridges throughout Tibet in the 14th century. So his monastery and the stupa were built just in front of our house. But when I was old enough to remember, there was nothing except ruins. And my grandfather, in Tibetan circumambulation, circle is really important. You always circle holy things.
Mm-hmm.
Completion of circle is really important. If you do something, then you complete.
Do the same.
The circle is really important. So when I was very young, he used to take me, the stupa is here, our house is here, and the river is here. So it would have been easier, much easier, because the road goes this way straight to the town square. Every morning he would take me around, and then evening he would bring this way. So one day I asked, why are you doing this? And he said, someday you will know. Actually, during the Cultural Revolution, people were banned from doing any religious activity.
Mm-hmm.
So what he was doing was doing the circumambulation without, telling me. So circle is really important. And that's what I remember from those days, that although the physical structures and infrastructure and monastery was destroyed, but the strength is again within here. As long as you cling to your belief and your spiritual tradition, structures can be built. You know, you have Katrina, right? Many houses were destroyed. But as long as you live, you can always build a house. Maybe not here, but somewhere else. So I think that is important. And other thing that I remember is the day I was to go out of Tibet, my mother gave me a brick of sugar. I don't know what you call crystal sugar. So I remember that taste for many, many years in exile. You know, I chewed that and I walked. Yeah.
Can I just ask to address certain? So Bhuchung does a lot of translation work from Tibet, especially because it's mostly written in Tibet and Chinese too. But he translates a lot of the Tibetan works into English. So Bhuchung, can you emphasize on why and what inspires you to translate those works?
Kadengi legwan pana zambe nyingdo porshing shawang jakdo pana khirzu gi poba shawe sugyang miksung gi chimar shambe kungi nasu gi khongbur dibe dagi khawachen gi minnamya shadar chakdar gi minnamya theringa khegi geji su pyude khela tashin yu theringa khela chenne logyu yu geji ikting su trishin yu. So this is part of a very long poem written by a Tibetan writer who lives in occupied Tibet. In 2009, he self-published. You know, everything that has to be published in occupied Tibet has to be ratified and vetted by government, Chinese authorities. So if you want to publish something else, you have to do it by yourself. So he was a student in one of the universities, and he wrote a book called Written in Blood. And this is one of the poems, short poem that I translated. And after Chinese authorities discovered that he wrote a book, he was jailed for 4 years just for writing a book. He was a university student. So I think, but for the outside world, very few of these literature written from inside Tibet is known. And all we know sometimes is the fact that a writer is arrested and jailed for 5 years. That's all we know. We don't know anything else other than this. But what endures, I think, is the works of art. And the act of translation is really important. For people such as us, act of translation is also an act of resistance. Language is power, language is resistance, and language is important. And I as somebody who speaks 2 languages fairly well, English and Tibetan, and also Hindi, I think it's really important for people such as us who have freedom to do the translation here to make sure that the creative writing produced and written inside Tibet with so much sacrifice by the author is known outside of the world. Art creates boundaries, common space. Now, if I am a politician, for example, you wouldn't be here, right? You won't come here to listen to a Tibetan politician. But you came because I am an artist, and art creates a common space where people can come without expectation, without suspicion, without doubt. You come here with an open heart. And why I do translation of the literature from inside is because I want people to understand the voices and the aspiration, and in many ways the desperation and the state that Tibetans in Tibet undergo. And the only voices that we know of are the voices of the intellectuals, musicians, films, writers, poets, who write by and large in Tibetan, and some write in Chinese as well.
That's it. Great thoughts, yes.
Yeah, so are we done? No more songs, no more poems.
Right.
I want to offer Bruce this Tibetan kata. This is always white in color to show how pure our intention is. In our tradition, intention is really important. some may give you money, but if that money has string attached, then no good.
Yeah.
So
and we're in the mint also.
this comes
so
with a
to-
pure heart. Pure gesture.
I'm forcing you to become a Tibetan Buddhist.
Finally.
You want me to
But
stop?
yes, I'm a little tangled up now, but I was waiting to see why I had these.
Oh.
When this man came to me, and if you don't mind, I also have the box that came in.
Oh.
It's very beautiful, but yeah, I mean he just on the street in Amsterdam. I had a couple of drinks that wasn't too bad, but as soon as I was like, I know this guy from somewhere, and he was like, I know you, and it was 9 years later, but he brought this to me and he said, you have to have this. He left it, and so.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This is
You might become the tantric master now.
I think tonight we're going to fly.
No,
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
thank you.